It began as a dream, a vision of a world where a disabling job injury would no longer mean poverty and misery, but a quick return to productive life. 1982, Port Alberni, British Columbia. A small group of disabled forestry workers had the audacity to challenge the status quo. Their premise was simple: people need to work. If they're separated from that work by a disabling injury, it's not acceptable to pension them off, however compassionate that might appear. There must be a system for returning them to work. Some essential keys emerged. The focus of change must be the workplace itself, and collaboration of labor, management, and government would be crucial. A new model began to take shape, a cooperative plan for getting injured workers back to their jobs, even if the disability was permanent. The model was tested in the workplace, and it became clear that something special was happening. Instead of being put out to pasture and becoming a drain on the economy, injured employees were restored as productive citizens, supporting their families and paying taxes. And employers found that retaining valued workers actually saved them money. The design was in place, a new style of disability management. But there was much to learn. The Disabled Forestry Workers Foundation consulted with industry, labor, and government, with educators, providers, and injured workers themselves. They explored the experiences of other countries in dealing with workplace injury. Alliances were established with Germany, Australia, and the United States. In 1992, prominent people from those three countries were invited to Vancouver for a seminar called The World at Work. It was part of Independence 92, an international congress on disability. The seminar was a sharing of information on the concept of return to work. It was a major boost to the Foundation's faith in its concept. But they still lacked a profile. They needed the attention of those who could move things forward. It was time for the little foundation in Port Alberni to become a force to be reckoned with. Enter NIDMAR. The National Institute for Disability Management and Research opened its doors in October 1994. It was a low-key event, but filled with promise. Leaders of industry, labor, and government were present, as were members of the original forestry workers group and some newer international friends. To ensure long-term financial stability, NIDMAR established an endowment to produce operating income. Sponsors included major corporations, unions, and governments. The level of support was an indication of the respect the Institute already commanded. NIDMAR took up modest premises in a college in Port Alberni and focused squarely on the task at hand: to reduce the human, social, and economic costs of disability to workers, employers, and society as a whole. With a proven model for returning injured employees to work, NIDMAR set about selling the idea. The key was education. Conferences, symposiums, and seminars were held to bring the disability management model to a wide audience of employers, workers, government officials, and healthcare professionals. There was skepticism, to be sure. What's in it for me was a common theme. But the case was a powerful one. Employers could save a lot of money, governments could collect taxes instead of paying benefits, and most important, disabled workers would get their lives back. Win, win, win. As demand grew, NIDMAR established a training program for disability management coordinators, the linchpin of the NIDMAR workplace model. That soon led to a UBC certificate program in disability management. Meanwhile, the Institute's vigorous board of directors adapted to NIDMAR's evolving constituency, and global relationships were maintained through NIDMAR's International Advisory Council, a forum for high-level exchange of ideas with members from Canada, New Zealand, Germany, Australia, and the United States. In 1995, those international ties paid off handsomely. when the government of Germany awarded NIDMAR the rights to Rehadat, a leading-edge database on disability management. Rehadat Canada would prove to be an important tool in managing return-to-work challenges. By 1996, there were signs of a shift in attitudes towards disability management. As the rewards of early intervention and return to work became known, acceptance increased. DM principles appeared at the bargaining table. Workers' compensation boards were also taking notice of NIDMAR's claims. Better outcomes for disabled workers were clearly to everyone's advantage. On the research front, university studies commissioned by NIDMAR showed conclusively that where return-to-work programs were in place, disability costs, WCB premiums, and lost work time were sharply reduced. NIDMAR was on the right track, but there was a long way to go. As 1997 began, the pace at the Institute was accelerating. The intensive 6-week certificate program in disability management was operating at full steam, and graduates were achieving substantial results in the workplace. Then came another important breakthrough, an agreement with the Workers' Compensation Board of Alberta for use of NIDMAR's certificate program curriculum in 2 Alberta colleges. It was a definite tactical shift for the WCB, focusing on workplace partnerships, and other WCBs nationwide were watching. 1998 was a defining year for NIDMAR. In May of that year, the Institute signed a groundbreaking agreement with the International Labour Organization, an agency of the United Nations based in Geneva. The agreement called for NIDMAR to develop the first code of practice in disability management. The auspicious signing ceremony was held in the rotunda of the British Columbia Legislature, witnessed by the BC Premier and the Federal Human Resources Minister. It was a vindication of all the Institute had worked for and stood for, and a measure of its credibility. The little institute in Port Alberni had stepped into the international spotlight. But NIDMAR was also spreading its wings at the national level. The Insurance Corporation of British Columbia signed an agreement to license the Institute's DM certificate program for delivery through BC educational institutions. Their goal was to reduce the staggering costs of compensation to injured motorists. Across the country, the giant Workplace Safety and Insurance Board of Ontario, also impressed by NIDMAR's expertise, agreed to license the disability management model and training curriculums in Ontario. It was a major step forward. 1999. With important partnerships being formed across the country, it was time for NIDMAR to strengthen its national presence by opening an office in Ottawa. And the landmark agreement with WSIB made it a reality. It was a happy occasion and a significant development, but it was just a prelude to the undisputed highlight of the year, the release of Canada's first occupational standards for the practice of disability management. Like many NIDMAR projects, it was a partnership with Human Resources Development in Ottawa. It was a huge achievement, the result of rigorous consultation with labor, business, government, and many other stakeholders across Canada, including people with disabilities. The standards define 2 key functions: Certified Return to Work Coordinator and Certified Disability Management Professional. The next step will be the development of certification exams. A new century, and for NIDMAR, new challenges and new triumphs. During the year, the Institute signed agreements with 3 major organizations: the powerful Federation of Workers' Compensation Boards in Germany, TNO Work and Employment in the Netherlands, and the Rehab Group of Dublin, Ireland. These accords called for a sharing of NIDMAR's growing capability in DM education, occupational standards, and codes of practice. The new alliances were exciting evidence of the Institute's potential as an international leader in disability management development. Further proof came in Geneva, when Canada's Labour Minister officially handed NIDMAR's newly developed Code of Practice to the Director General of the ILO, providing the structure for the ILO's International Code. In the fall of 2000, NIDMAR broke more new ground with the first National Awards of Excellence in Disability Management at the Chateau Laurier in Ottawa. The awards honored organizations and individuals who had shown exemplary leadership and better outcomes with return-to-work programs across the nation. It was a grand affair, complete with celebrity guests, and it gave NIDMAR a new visibility, a new avenue for raising public awareness of DM issues. The Institute's strength has always been people, their devotion to the concept, and their willingness to make the effort. Speaking engagements take NIDMAR representatives anywhere that people will listen to their case. Conferences, big and small, thrash out policy through long days and weeks, all moving forward towards the twin goals of restoring lives and reducing costs. The year 2001 was rich in achievement. In Ottawa, the second National Symposium on Disability Management highlighted the growing cost of stress in the workplace. But at center stage in 2001 was the final act of a 3-year drama in which NIDMAR played a pivotal role. In Geneva, the ILO unveiled its Code of Practice on Managing Disability in the Workplace. It was a coup for the Institute, and gratifying to see how the code embraced NIDMAR's principles of consensus and return to work. 2001 also brought another long-time NIDMAR project to maturity, the Disability Management Audit Tool. It was developed as a means of analyzing the effectiveness of DM programs in dealing with workplace injury. But good ideas can't be restrained by national borders. NIDMAR has always reached out to others around the world to study their methods and to share its own. Common goals have emerged and valuable friendships formed. As 2002 dawned, these global connections were about to bear fruit in remarkable ways. The crown jewel of the year was the first ever International Forum on Disability Management. 400 delegates from 10 countries descended on Vancouver for 3 days of intensive discussion of DM developments. The forum was an amazing accomplishment. 10 years earlier, NIDMAR had been just a gleam in the eyes of a group of pioneers. Now it was an acknowledged leader in DM issues, and the world was paying attention. A highlight of the forum was the second National Awards of Excellence in Disability Management, another salute to the accomplishments of DM practitioners and innovative programs across the country. The international audience brought an extra dimension of pride and prestige to the event. Education has always been a cornerstone of NIDMAR. Another high watermark was achieved in 2002 with the launch of a graduate program in disability management at the University of Northern British Columbia. Meanwhile, the Institute's original DM certificate program continued to extend its reach to educational institutions across the country, as well as being available online. Next, another exciting step forward: certification. Now, DM practitioners would have to pass intensive examinations to hold one of the 2 professional designations: Certified Return to Work Coordinator and Certified Disability Management Professional. For labor and industry, that brings the assurance of being in qualified hands. For the DM professional, it means new credibility and portability for the profession. And for the injured worker, it promises the level of care they deserve. As 2003 began, senior officials from Canada, Germany, the Netherlands, Australia, and the United States were creating a new organization, the International Disability Management Standards Council. Its purpose was to bring quality assurance to the process by maintaining the values, outcomes, and principles of disability management. Acceptance of the certification standard and audit tool has been swift. The Federation of Workers' Compensation Boards in Germany was quick to license these powerful DM instruments. In September 2004, the Second International Forum on Disability Management was held in Maastricht, in the Netherlands. Again, the focus was on the leading edge of a rapidly widening DM universe. The forum was a resounding success. The 2006 event will be in Brisbane, Australia, and in 2008, Germany will be the host. It's hard to guess how many countries will be on board by then, but NIDMAR will be there. It's now 10 years since NIDMAR's birth. It's been an odyssey of phenomenal progress, unimaginable a decade ago. Consider the record. Disability management is now guided and promoted by an international code of practice. It is practiced at demanding occupational standards by internationally certified professionals. It is taught through degree programs now spreading to universities around the world. And it is celebrated through awards of excellence and high-level international forums, which are bringing DM values to a new level of public prominence. And NIDMAR, with the extraordinary help and encouragement of its friends, was and is at the driving heart of these singular achievements. The Little Institute from Port Alberni has always had a vision. That vision has been nurtured by those who not only dared to dream, but had the courage, creativity, and tenacity to fight for those dreams and make them come true. Many of them have. Hundreds of individuals and organizations have contributed to the birth, growth, and maturing of NIDMAR. Some are no longer with us, but their contribution lives on. They and you have taken part in a movement that is destined to literally change the world. But it's important to remember that NIDMAR is not an end in itself, nor is it a monument to anyone's ego. It's a trigger, a catalyst, a vehicle for getting things done. The real effort comes from the hearts and minds of people all over the world, people who believe that ours is a just cause and care enough to do something about it. For every familiar face seen in these past few minutes, there are 10 more working and contributing to the effort. We thank them all. Disability management is on the move, on a global scale. That glow you see on the horizon is a world where workplaces will welcome not only workers injured on the job, but all people with disabilities. The future holds promise, but NIDMAR must continue the battle. We've paused here at the 10-year mark just long enough to catch our breath and give ourselves a pat on the back. Now, it's time to move on.